Hello and welcome. We're joined at the India Today and Business Today studios at the World Economic Forum at Davos by senior BJP leader Smriti Irani. She's the head of the Alliance for Global Good. And I was looking at her calendar for the World Economic Forum. Ma'am, you had a very packed calendar. Do you want to give our viewers an account of what came out of your week here at the World Economic Forum?
Rahul, this agenda, this alliance began last year, and the intention was that there is a philanthropic case for women and equity, but we need to make a business case out of it, because there's a lot of money for rhetoric, there's very little money for realities. And I believe that, and I've said this, there is always money for good cause, but that money runs out, but money never runs out for money. So how can you create those templates where companies, institutions recognize that investing in women is profitable and is not a credit risk? And that's what we do here. In the past 1 year, we've had 4,500 foreign delegates come together, look at the test case we've made, let's say in India, and see how we can take templates around the world. Prime Minister Modi is always of the belief that apart from government doing what it does for its people, what can we as individuals, civil society, or for that matter, individual leadership positions do something to create more possibilities of growth in our communities, or to create possibilities of collaborations on issues of welfare. So that's what basically is the foundational ethos of the alliance. You talk about my calendar, what are the takeaways? I help bring innovators to big business who may have great scientific capacity but do not know how to translate that into enterprise. Here there is a lot of money. They are looking at innovation which is frugal, but innovation which is scalable, and also innovation that can be locally evidenced and can create a global impact. If you look at the issue of health, on which I do work, today, if you link the aspect to only empathy and welfare, it does not move mountains when it comes to funds. What we do is to make, again, like I said, a business case for it. If you do not invest in women's health, the productivity loss to a global economy by 2030 is projected to be of $15 trillion. As a woman today, I know that when women my age get cantankerous, people slyly say, "Are you menopausal?" But companies in the US, in fact, have computed the productivity loss to companies when they have employees who are of that age or in that stage. The loss is close to $2 billion only to US corporations. And that is why when we go into rooms where money meets innovative matter or scientific temper, we then lay the platform for engagements where we say, let's scale it up. So I'll give you a small example. Bill Gates is somebody that I've worked with for a good 6-7 years now. And last March, Bill said, can we have somebody in India make a PPH drape? You have, anybody who has a child knows that at childbirth, when women bleed, many a times that loss of blood is so huge that doctors or those who are attending to that lady who's birthing cannot compute the blood loss, and many die. There are globally 700,000 deaths every year only because of that one challenge. We said we'll find you somebody in India who can make the PPH drape as per WHO specs, and Bill said, but it has to be done at $1. We did find somebody who is like an SME, a youngster who was taking over the father's establishment and thought that they have actually no great future ahead. That kid ended up making the PPH drape at specs which were better than WHO and at $1.
Interesting.
So now that business, which is very small, gets connected to a global universe and the global supply chain.
So now that you've been working on this alliance for a year, and you spoke of how investing in women is profitable, it's not something which is just charitable, what are the key lessons that you've learned which you think could be templates which can be scaled?
We are creating that template in India this year, especially for women-owned businesses in 250 locations. We are identifying 100,000 female-owned businesses, helping them meet new financial institutions that can help them enhance their capital capacity. Many want to be a part of national markets, So we are helping them learn how to meet certification and standards of quality for national markets. If somebody, let's say, wants to be on GEM, there is a standard of quality of product or product design. They've been taught that. If somebody wants to be a global supply chain partner, we have international partners that will take the best of Indian capacity and enterprise by women, and we connect them to global standards and global supply chains, including certification. And at the same time, we know that these experiments, which are local in nature, need to become a template for the world. So we, with our friends at UN Women and UN bodies, will have this whole process validated in terms of the outcome, but also the engagement will be framed so much in such a fashion that it can be shared with governments and policymakers around the world. Similarly, we know that what makes sense for business sometimes doesn't make sense for government and vice versa. So we have people in the business consultancies, maybe the top 4 or 5 in the world, who will look at the process from a business perspective and then create a process framework so that businesses that want to do the same in their supply chains the world over, they can take that template from India and do it for the world. Now, the Commonwealth Secretariat was very kind. They said, we like this and we would like you to do it in the Commonwealth Network, which is, we'll go to 56 countries with it. Also yesterday with the US-India Strategic Partnership Forum, with the USAID, they had been working for years with regards to women in leadership positions in the energy sector, which is not a sector much spoken about. We said, why only look at women in the boardrooms? Let's look at how we can provide new opportunity for women downstream in niche areas. For instance, carbon markets in our part of the world are evolving. What if we have a cadre of women who are trained for auditing credits, or for verifying credits before the men take the jobs. So we are in, CII is our partner to do all these adventures. So we will take the best of CII knowledge systems, partners, and then create this cadre of women, but not only in India, but in South Asia.
So outside of the agenda that you're leading for women-led companies and how you can scale those ideas, what is it that you've picked up at Davos about how the world is viewing the India story? The biggest headline, of course, has been that Donald Trump is president again, and everybody's trying to figure out how to adjust to a Trumpian world. How do you see all the trade tariffs that he wants to come up with and the kind of belligerence that he's demonstrating impact what the Modi government is trying to do back home?
I think that I'm a very pragmatic politician who understands the psychology of politics. One has to be mindful that no matter who the leader, no matter what the size of their economy, no matter what their constraints or what their opportunities, they will, instead of having a great PR globally, look at domestic concerns and how can they better prospects for their own citizens. So if you look at leadership the world over from that lens, you understand where any leader is coming from. What I am extremely buoyant about is the fact that the Indian interests are being looked after by Prime Minister Modi, who knows that he can walk away from a table in such a fashion that nobody feels shortchanged. And I think that that respect, that bonhomie that two nations bring to the table has that kind of value. So instead of looking at the whole scenario now being circumspect or being tentative, I think I look at it from a pragmatic lens. The president in the US made many promises to his domestic audience. We have in the BJP seen a prime minister who set the national agenda, irrespective of the politics of it. And I think when these two minds meet together, they will come to a crossroad, not of a debilitating nature. In fact, I think both will converge efforts to build a collaboration based on trust.
The Argentinian president was here at the World Economic Forum, Donald Trump, Prime Minister Modi. Do you see, as you join these global political dots, a larger arc emerge for the kind of politics that seems to be succeeding with voters and the kind of politics that's being
I think
rejected?
voters want outcomes that affect their economic conditions, outcome that affects the way of life that they want to ensure for their children. Voters now do not want rhetoric, they want action, and I think that's the kind of leadership that they're voting for.
स्मृति जी, आप यहाँ पे भी डावोस में हैं, इसके बाद आप भारत लौट रही हैं और उसके फौरन बाद दिल्ली में इलेक्शंस हो रहे हैं. जिस तरीके से हरियाणा में, उसके बाद महाराष्ट्र में भारतीय जनता पार्टी की जीत हुई, क्या आपको लगता है कि दिल्ली में भी इस बार आप लोग अरविंद केजरीवाल को हरा पाएंगे या तीसरी दफा फिर हारने वाले हैं?
मुझे ऐसा लगता है कि आपके चैनल पे हरियाणा के चुनाव के संदर्भ में जब चर्चाएं हो रही थी, तब आपने भी कभी इस अपेक्षा को नहीं दर्शाया कि भारतीय जनता पार्टी हरियाणा में सरकार बनाएगी. और ये हमारे लोकतंत्र की मैच्योरिटी को दिखाता है कि कोई भी कहीं भी बैठकर ये अंदाज़ा नहीं लगा सकता कि इंडियन वोटर कब क्या किस मुद्दे पर या कोई लोकल विषय के साथ साथ किसी राष्ट्रीय मुद्दे पर क्या सोच रखता है। और हिंदुस्तान के लोकतंत्र की यही सबसे बड़ी ताकत है। जहाँ तक आप दिल्ली की बात करते हैं तो मुझे लगता है आज आप फैक्चुअली देखें कि दिल्ली के जो मुद्दे हैं उन मुद्दों पर दिल्ली की जनता किस प्रकार से आम आदमी पार्टी को आंकती है। एंड दे से द स्टोरी इज नेवर ओवर टिल द फैट लेडी सिंग्स एंड आई एम नॉट सिंगिंग इट।
नहीं नहीं, क्योंकि आप यहाँ पे हैं और आपसे बातचीत करने का मौका भी, तो इसलिए मैं पूछना चाहूंगा कि खूब चर्चा हुई जब आप नई दिल्ली विधानसभा क्षेत्र में जाके कुछ आपने वहाँ टाइम स्पेंड किया कि स्मृति जी आ रही हैं।
मैं दिल्ली में पैदा हुई हूँ, वहाँ रहती हूँ।
चांदनी चौक से 2004 में आपने चुनाव भी लड़ा।
लेकिन मैं पैदा हुई हूँ, रहती हूँ, इसलिए किसी का ये कहना कि अरे यहाँ रहती है अचानक, नहीं, मैं पैदा ही वही हूँ 76 में लेडी हार्डिंग हॉस्पिटल में। मैं जानती हूँ कि
आपने मेरा सवाल ही नहीं सुना।
नहीं, मैं इसलिए कह रही हूँ कि मेयर का चुनाव हो, काउंसलर का चुनाव हो, पार्षद का चुनाव हो, कोई भी चुनाव हो, मेरा नाम एक बार जरूर आता है।
नहीं, क्योंकि खूब चर्चा ये हुई कि बीजेपी हो सकता है कि स्मृति ईरानी को उतारे अपना दिल्ली का चेहरा बनाकर।
अब मुझे इस बात की खुशी है कि मुझे इतना योग्य समझा जाता है कि चाहे वो दिल्ली हो या देश का कोई और प्रांत, वहाँ पर मेरी पार्टी और पार्टी के समर्थक इस बात पर कि मैं एक अच्छा चेहरा हो सकती हूँ उस पर विश्लेषण करता है। और ये मात्र बात चेहरे की नहीं है राहुल। जब आपको लगता है कि एक फ़ाइट देनी है और आप फाइटर का नाम बोले स्मृति ईरानी, तो मैं 48 ईयर्स ओल्ड हूँ और इस कम अवधि में अगर मैंने अपनी ये साख बना ली है कि आसान नहीं, मुश्किल काम भी इसको देंगे तो ये कर लेगी, मुझे लगता है मेरी एक निजी राजनीतिक उपलब्धि है। दूसरा, मैंने अपना लगभग 20 साल का पॉलिटिकल करियर जो देखा है उसमें जो जो काम जनता का लिया उसको मैंने किया। तो इस प्रकार का विश्वास जागृत करना 2 दशकों तक उसको बनाए रखना अपने आप में एक उपलब्धि है निजी। तो मेरे लिए तो खुशी की बात है।
आपको लगा कि एक चैलेंज होगा जो आपको लेना चाहिए आफ्टर द लोकसभा इलेक्शंस की, अगर दिल्ली में बीजेपी का झंडा आप फहरा सके?
मुझे इस बात की खुशी है कि हर चैलेंज आप मुझे ही देना चाहते हैं लेकिन मेरा ये मानना है कि मैं कब क्या कहाँ करूंगी, किस अवस्था में करूंगी या किस विषय को लेकर करूंगी या किस पोजीशन पे करूंगी, इसका निर्णय पार्टी करती है। ये निजी निर्णय नहीं होते। देखिए, मैं खुद मीडिया से मुखातिब हूँ, मेरा 30 साल का करियर मीडिया में भी रहा है, लेकिन मैंने कभी भी इरिस्पेक्टिव ऑफ द फैक्ट कि टेलीविज़न में तो सरताज कहना नहीं चाहिए, इमॉडेस्ट होगा, लेकिन अच्छी खासी एक पैंठ रही है। लेकिन मैंने अपने उस व्यक्तित्व के एक हिस्से को कभी पॉलिटिकली लेवरेज नहीं किया कि भाई बहुत बड़ी स्टार हूँ तो बड़ा इजी असाइनमेंट दीजिए। मुझे ऐसा लगता है कि मैं जिनके साथ काम करती हूँ राजनीति में, यू वांट देयर रिस्पेक्ट, सो यू वांट टू स्टार्ट फ्रॉम स्क्रैच एंड यू वांट टू बिल्ड बेटर। बट मुसीबत में भी आप अपने कार्यकर्ता के साथ खड़े रहे, और कार्यकर्ता चाहे देश में कहीं भी आपके साथ काम करता, उसको लगे कि दीदी को एक बार फ़ोन किया तो दीदी कोई ना कोई व्यवस्था करेगी, मदद करेगी या मदद करेगी जितना उसे संभव है। तो फॉर मी दैट्स अ वेरी वेरी बिग पॉलिटिकल ट्रेजरी। तो मेरा ये मानना है कि मैंने पार्टी से कभी नहीं कहा आसान चीज़ें दो, मैंने पार्टी से कभी नहीं कहा मुश्किल चीज़ें दो, पार्टी से कभी कुछ कहा नहीं। बड़ों ने जो फ़ोन करके कहा आज ये करना है, हमने कहा ओके सर।
How do you see your personal and political journey over the next 4 years? Post the Lok Sabha elections to now, you've been working a lot and it comes through in your answers and the way you've handled yourself in terms of upskilling your capabilities. How do you see your, like, what is it that you're working on and working towards consciously?
So I recently, just yesterday in fact, was with the team of the Time magazine. And the brilliant part is that the global commercial head of Time magazine is a friend of mine, Victoria Dictar. And you know Tim, who leads Time. And we were all sitting and just jabbering away because all three of us were from middle class backgrounds. And I said, what are the chances that exactly 40 years ago on the streets of Delhi, on a pavement with my father, I was selling second-hand Time magazine.
Really?
Yeah, I was. And he was, you know, he had 2 places of selling his books. One was Dholakwa, opposite Army Club, and the other was Shantiniketan. And I remember telling my father when I was 7 years old that when we were at Dholakwa, and because my mom would teach and my father was the one who would look after me, and Dholakwa mein, Army Club mein, you know, the whole cars go up and down, you can see the flag and you see smartly dressed officers. And I still remember, because for that I got slapped. I said, you know, one day I'll be in a car like this with a flag and, you know, men in uniform will salute me. And my father thought I was shit crazy. But the other was, for me, a moment of great solace. is the houses that I saw on the pavement on which my father sold books. I asked him, यहाँ कौन रहता है? और जब मेरे माँ बाप की शादी हुई थी उनके पास 150 रुपया था, तो मेरे पिता ने कहा यहाँ पे दिल्ली के सबसे मशहूर अमीर लोग रहते हैं. मैंने कहा एक दिन मेरा यहाँ घर होगा. माई फादर नेवर सेड एनीथिंग, और आज मेरा वहाँ घर है. तो जब मैंने वो घर लिया तो सबसे पहले मेरे पिताजी 75 साल के हो गए हैं, ठेठ कांग्रेसी हैं.
अच्छा, अभी भी?
हाँ, अभी भी ठेठ कांग्रेसी
कैसे हो
है.
सकता है?
माता मेरी जनसंघी है, संघी है, मैं भाजपाई हूँ, तो इट्स अ
Democracy in play.
अरे बाप रे, it's an explosive democracy at play at home. But my father cried. At 75, he stood in that house and he cried. I said, I promised you 41 years ago I'll do this. That's my life. So I've seen Delhi from the streets and from Rashtrapati Bhavan. Everything else is just a plus plus.
Nice. You've begun work on this alliance. You've explained what you've done this year.
Yeah.
What are your key mission objectives for the next year in terms of your journey?
This I'll get done. 1 lakh women-owned businesses this year in India. Next year is Africa, and 21 countries in Africa for which this program goes to. I am at Marlborough House on the 31st of January. I'm going for like a day, and I said, Delhi mein mera chunav hai, mujhe jaane do. So I am at the Commonwealth Secretariat on the 31st. Then I come back, but that's where we plan how to take it to 21 countries in Africa. I'm very proud as an Indian that while the Foreign Office in India contributes so much and adds so much value to global discourse and helps change his life. I mean, Vaccine Maitri by India was a fantabulous thing that we did as a country. And I think there's much more that Indians can do. In Davos, I keep telling my fellow Indians, I say, don't sit in echo chambers. बड़ा आसान होता है अपने ही लोगों के बीच में बैठ के अपनी ही बातें करना. Go to rooms where Indians do not find a voice and take the voice of Indians who cannot even afford a ticket to Davos. And that's what I'm proud of. So yesterday when I met Mr. Gates, he looked at the paper in my hand. He says, is that what I think it is? I said, yeah, that's a list of 12 people who are innovators in India. They have capacities, they have licenses, they don't have money to go to market.
Nice.
And he took the list. So I know that some Indian in that list of 12 will get a call from Gates.
Nice, and thanks to you. So from Malviya Nagar to Marlborough House, there are several words you're crisscrossing. Smriti Irani ji, for taking our time and joining us here at the World Economic Forum. Thank you. It was snowing in the morning.
And the sun is out.
You brought the sun with you. So thank you.
I hope the sun stays up on the prospects of India.
Well,
thank you for the
so
conversation.
much for taking our time and joining us. Thank you.
Thank you.